Trying to get in his head. You feel like you can break LeBron at this point?
We broke LeBron.
In Game 5.
So get your ass out of here with that, all right? You understand how you got the Cleveland, how you got the Miami bill? You remember
That's
that?
true. You broke him in 2010.
Okay, so remember that, all right?
Fair
so
enough.
Stop bringing that up, all right?
Fair enough.
So they was talking shit to him, okay? The media. And the league knew that they had an agenda in which we wasn't part of the agenda. You understand? Right. And that's how they ended up winning that series. Yeah, I said it.
Kevin Garnett just lit a match under one of the most talked about subjects in the NBA right now. And this time it isn't even about a box score or a playoff series. It is about LeBron James, the All-Star Game, the new NBA format, and the growing divide between what fans see on the surface and what real hoop people actually believe is happening underneath it all. And if you listen closely to what Kilogram is saying, the message is not just don't vote for LeBron. The message is much deeper than that. It is basically this. Real basketball fans are not supposed to get fooled by reputation alone. That is why this conversation got so interesting, because Kevin Garnett was not just giving a casual opinion. He was making a warning. He was saying that if fans keep voting LeBron just because of the name, the legacy, the fame, and the global brand, then they are ignoring what is actually happening on the court and around the team. And for a player like LeBron, that is a dangerous conversation to have, because the expectations around him have always been bigger than everybody else's. Do you think you pushed LeBron too far in Game 5? Cause Game 6, his unbelievable. You think you gave him the eye of the tigers? Pushed him too far? Nothing, man. Listen, let me say something to you. The SS, we didn't give a __ about LeBron. We didn't fear LeBron, and we didn't think that he can beat all 5 of us. And that's how it felt. He was trying to consolidate because he didn't want the pressure on him. You understand? Now, before anybody gets carried away, let us be fair. LeBron James is still LeBron James. He is one of the greatest players the league has ever seen. That does not disappear because people are having a debate about all-star voting or team dynamics. If he plays enough games and meets the criteria, there is a very real chance he gets voted into the All-Star game again. Because, let's be honest, fans have always rewarded his name. That part is not surprising. What Kilogram is really pushing back against is the automatic assumption that LeBron should just be there no matter what, no matter the situation, no matter the format, and no matter how the league is changing around him. And that is where the tension starts. Because this all-star discussion is not happening in a vacuum, the NBA has been constantly changing the format. They have tried different ideas, different structures, different ways to make the game feel competitive again. And every year, it seems like the league is trying to chase a version of the event that fans and players can both feel good about. But the truth is, the problem has been there for a while. Players do not always want to go full speed in an exhibition game. Fans want entertainment. The league wants engagement. And the All-Star game keeps getting caught in the middle. That's part of why KG's warning landed the way it did. He's basically saying that the game is full of people who know the difference between a real basketball moment and a reputation moment. And when he says real hoop fans cannot be fooled, he's talking about the people who actually watch, actually analyze, and actually care about the game beyond the highlight clips. At the same time, the source also makes it clear that there's more going on here than just the All-Star voting debate. There is also the bigger conversation about how LeBron is being used in Los Angeles now, how the Lakers are run, and how much of a shift he is actually dealing with at this stage of his career. And that is where the other 2 voices in the clip matter a lot. Because once you move away from Kilogram and into the other comments, you start hearing something that a lot of fans have been noticing for a while. This is the first time in LeBron's career where it doesn't feel like the whole organization revolves around his opinion anymore. That is a huge adjustment. LeBron has spent most of his career being the center of gravity everywhere he has gone. When he speaks, people listen. When he wants something, front offices usually try to get it. When he pushes a direction, the team often leans that way. That has been part of his entire basketball life for so long that it has almost become normal. But now, according to the discussion in the clip, that is changing. The Lakers are not really building around what LeBron wants anymore. They are building around Luka Doncic. And that changes everything. That's what Brennan Haywood was getting at when he talked about LeBron's passive-aggressive energy and the fact that this seems to be the first time the franchise is not bending to him the way others did. That is not a small thing for a player who has basically been the man since he was a teenager. Being moved into a different role is not just a basketball adjustment. It's a psychological one. It's an identity shift. It's a reminder that even legends eventually have to deal with the fact that the spotlight does not always follow them forever. And that's probably the hardest part of this whole conversation for LeBron supporters to swallow, because it's not just about stats anymore. It's not just about whether he can still get buckets, still create plays, still make winning passes, or still deliver in certain moments. It's about how the team functions around him. It's about whether the Lakers are asking him to adapt to a new structure instead of expecting the old structure to keep surviving because of his name. That's where the friction comes in. Listen, a lot of people think that in sports, if you had Dwayne, Chris Bos, and LeBron over in this corner, you had me, CA, I'm just making these names up. Maybe Paul and Rondo right here. Yeah. It'll be a what's up and it'll be cool and respect, but it won't be any like fratterns. It ain't going to be like, yo, other family. It won't be none of that. No, it's real. We don't __ with them forever. We don't __ with them. But it's cool though. It's a mutual understanding in which we have respect for each other. But it won't be like when I did the interview with D. Wade. That was me having to interview D. Wade. The clip also brought up the idea that LeBron can still have moments where he takes control and says in effect, I'm still King James. That is exactly the kind of thing people have seen from him for years. Even now, there are moments where he steps into the spotlight, takes the free throw, makes the play, or reminds everyone that he is still one of the best to ever do it. And nobody is denying that. The issue is whether those moments now help the Lakers more than they disrupt the flow. That's where Rashawn McCoy's comments become important. He said something that sounds simple, but it actually cuts right to the heart of leadership. A coach has to start with the best player. If there's an accountability issue, if there's a defensive issue, if there's a culture issue, the best player cannot be the one getting a pass. The best player has to be the first one addressed because everybody else is watching. That's how teams work. That's how leadership works. And that's especially true when the team is trying to build a stronger defensive identity. The clip makes the point that if the coach wants the rest of the team to buy in, he cannot ignore LeBron and pretend that everybody else is supposed to carry the standard alone. Even if LeBron is older now, even if he is not expected to lock up the opponent's top scorer for 40 minutes, the coach still has to hold him to a visible standard. The point is not to embarrass him. The point is to show the rest of the roster that no one is above the process. That's a big deal. And that is why the Luka is the leader argument matters too. Because if Luka is now the one driving the car, then LeBron is no longer the one setting the entire tone. That does not mean LeBron is irrelevant. It doesn't mean he cannot still be great. It just means the role has changed. Luka is the one with the ball more. Luka is the one the offense is running through. Luka is the one who has become the new centerpiece. And whenever that happens, the old centerpiece has to decide whether to embrace the transition or keep trying to remind everybody what it used to be. That tension was all over the discussion. KG's point about all-star voting and real hoop fans comes from that same place. His saying that reputation should not override reality. If fans are voting for LeBron because they are attached to the legend and not because they are evaluating the current situation honestly, then they are missing the point. That doesn't mean LeBron is washed. It doesn't mean he is no longer worthy of respect. It just means there's a difference between honoring greatness and pretending greatness never changes shape over time. That's where people get into trouble. A lot of fans don't want to admit that the game looks different when a player gets older. They don't want to admit that a player can still be legendary and still not be the exact same force he once was. But that is what makes basketball so interesting. It forces honesty. You cannot freeze time just because a player is iconic. You have to watch what is actually happening in front of you. And the comments in this clip are pushing people to do exactly that. The other thing that stands out is how much this conversation sounds like a referendum on ego, not just ability. Brennan Haywood talked about how tough it is for somebody like LeBron to adjust when the team no longer cares as much about what he thinks. That's a brutal truth, but it is a truthful one. At some point, every superstar has to deal with the fact that their opinion no longer controls the whole machine. For LeBron, That may be a new feeling in Los Angeles. And for a player who has always been treated like the ultimate decision maker, that kind of shift can produce tension even if nobody says it out loud. Bronny get a bucket on Braun right now. Yeah, he can get a bucket on right now. Nope. Yeah, he can get a bucket. No way. Nope. No, he can get a bucket on a 25. I didn't say he ain't. I don't care what he's doing, but he ain't sliding playing at that defensive level. 25. No, Lord. 25. You still, Lord, he dunking. He's still dunking the ball with. I'm saying that Bronny can get a bucket on Braun. I'm saying he can't. 1 rollout, get a bucket. 3 dribbles. No way. I'm talking about get a bucket on him. No, man. Come on. That little dude explosive, bro. You seen his dad? His dad on that balcony on that new slide like he used. That is what makes the microaggressions observation in the clip so revealing. It suggests that even when LeBron is not openly fighting the system, there are still small moments where his body language, his decisions, and his presence make it obvious that he has not fully settled into being just another piece of the puzzle. Maybe he is not the only piece anymore. Maybe he is not the first option. Maybe he is not the alpha the way he once was. But the habits of being that guy do not disappear overnight. They show up in subtle ways. They show up in possessions, in reactions, in leadership moments, and in the way he approaches certain situations. That is why the clip feels so layered. At one level, it is about the All-Star game and Kilogram telling fans not to blindly vote for LeBron just because it is LeBron. At another level, it is about the Lakers shifting toward Luka. At another level, it is about LeBron having to deal with not being the unquestioned center of the franchise. And at the deepest level, it's about how hard it is for legends to age in public while everybody keeps comparing them to the versions of themselves that changed the league years ago. That is not easy for any player, but it's especially hard for somebody like LeBron because he has been so dominant, so influential, and so central to the NBA's identity for so long that every adjustment feels bigger than it should. If he takes a free throw in a certain moment, people read into it. If he looks annoyed during a play, people read into it. If he doesn't get the ball when he expects it, people read into it. And if he is not voted into the All-Star game at the level people assume he always will be, then it becomes another sign that the NBA is moving in a slightly different direction. That is exactly why Kevin Garnett's warning matters. He is reminding people that there is a difference between liking LeBron and evaluating LeBron honestly. You can respect him, admire him, and still admit that the league is changing around him. You can think he is a top-tier all-time great and still believe that fans should be more careful about automatically giving him every honor just because of his name. That kind of honesty is what real hoop fans are supposed to bring. Not hate, not worship, just honesty. And honestly, that's probably the healthiest way to look at this entire conversation. LeBron's greatness is not in question. The Lakers' transition is real. Luka being the new guy is real. The coaching accountability discussion is real. And KG's point about fans not getting fooled by brand recognition is also real. All of those things can exist at the same time without cancelling each other out. 38. That's crazy. See, this is what makes him go on top of the list to me. This, __, right here. If we talking about shot making, we talking about ability. We talking about skill. He in all those conversations. But now you're doing some __, where yeah. The greatest couldn't even do this. Will couldn't do this. Jordan couldn't do this. 38. Man. 38 in the league is really like 45. What makes the conversation so compelling is that everybody in the clip is coming at it from a slightly different angle, but all of them are circling the same core truth. The NBA is changing and LeBron is no longer above that change. He is inside it. He is being shaped by it. And whether he likes it or not, everybody watching is going to judge what he does next through that lens. That is why the warning from Kilogram hits so hard. Real hoop fans see beyond the noise. Real hoop fans know when something is legacy and when something is current production. Real hoop fans know when a player is still elite and when the league around him has started to move in a new direction. And real hoop fans, according to Kilogram, are not supposed to let the name alone decide the story. That is the message. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to subscribe for more NBA stories, heated debates, and real basketball conversations just like this. And drop your thoughts in the comments because this LeBron and kilogram discussion is only getting more interesting from here.